Andy, thanks. Thanks so much to all the members of the media here and so many staff, which is a real testament to today's announcement. Want to begin, I've got a lot of thank yous, but the first one is to our president, Ray Watts, who'd like to make a few remarks. Dr. Watts?
Well, good morning, and thank you all for joining us. Today marks a very important step forward for UAB football, athletics, and the entire university. First, I want to congratulate Coach Mortensen on this great opportunity that he's earned. As you know, he already has one of the biggest, most exciting wins in UAB football program history against Memphis this year. And the latest win on the road to finish the season ended on a very positive note, and momentum will continue under his leadership. Mark will introduce Coach and talk about his experience, so I won't go into detail about that. But what I want to say is Coach Mortensen is a rising star in college football, and I'm thrilled that he will lead our football program. In addition to his important and impressive resume, Coach Mortensen embodies the spirit of UAB in our teams. He has shown how resilient he is and how serious he is about winning. At the same time, he's very serious about the welfare of our student athletes and is the kind of person that players and their parents trust and respect. Coach, I look forward to supporting you and watching you become our next winning football coach. I also look forward to seeing Coach Mortensen build our program further and realize the great potential that we know that we have. To that end, the university plans to commit additional resources in athletics to help increase the investments in areas Coach Mortensen prioritizes. We have done that quietly behind the scenes every year, but we plan to do more this year. I appreciate the supporters that we have, our athletics foundation, and I want to make sure they are proud, along with our fans, of our athletic programs. Finally, I want to thank Mark Ingram and the search committee on this exciting hire in the midst of what will likely be one of the most competitive coaching carousels in history of athletics. I also want to recognize our University of Alabama System Board of Trustees and our colleagues in the University of Alabama System Office for their continued support of our people and our mission every day. With that, I'll turn the podium back over to Mark to officially introduce UAB's next winning head football coach. Mark?
Dr. Watts, thank you again. As I indicated, I've got a number of people I'd like to thank, and I've started with Dr. Watts, and also, as he mentioned, we'd like to thank our Board of Trustees, who, when we needed them, were able to act very quickly and swiftly here at the end to help us get to the finish line. We have a number of people in the community who've shared their thoughts and their interest in our program, and I appreciate them for all of their thoughtful input, and we've got a number of staff who've worked tirelessly on this effort to get to this day, and they are excited as I am, and I want to thank them for that. We've been very thorough in this process, and as I said from the beginning, we've had a lot of interest in this opportunity, and I told our student athletes, our team, it's because of them, really. And we have a great university. We have a great opportunity. We're in a beautiful facility. We have a fantastic stadium, and we compete in the American Athletic Conference. And that's all things that matter to coaches and matters to our team, and it matters to all of us, and it certainly does to our fans. And unfortunately, sometimes I am my own worst enemy, which is that I do intend to be thorough because I take these things very seriously. I know how important this is to everybody, to the university and to our department, and to Birmingham. And so unfortunately, though, sometimes thorough is the enemy of speed. And while our fans have anxiously awaited this day, I know with a lot of interest, I appreciate their patience and give us the opportunity to get here. So thank you to all of our fans as well. And We saw so many great qualities in so many wonderful coaches, and hats off to all of them. But we felt very strongly that the person that we had was right here under our nose. Please welcome Alex Mortensen, head coach.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank our school president, Dr. Watts, our athletic director, Mark Ingram, and the rest of the administration for providing this wonderful opportunity. And I'm honored and grateful to be in this position, something I don't take for granted. Further, I'd like to say I appreciate the support from our fan base, not just now, but really in the last 7 weeks as we face some challenges, but we've taken them on. It's our goal to give you a team that you'll be pleased with and one that represents our institution well. It's also our goal to create a program and an atmosphere that our players can succeed as a person, okay, as a student, and as a football player. We want to help them be more successful in life and grow their character. Further, we want to help them have success as a student and give them the support needed to be their best academically. And then finally, we aim to help them develop as a football player, both in an individual manner and as a team. As we serve our players and work to affect them positively, we hope it becomes an example for them to serve others, themselves, and positively affect the people around them. I know it's typical to talk about bowl appearances, games won, and championships in this setting to get everybody energized. But I think more in terms of, let's not boast about tomorrow, get to work, and speak softly while carrying a big stick. All right. So in terms of expectations, we have high expectations. But instead of talking about winning championships, we talk more about being a champion, okay, and doing the things every day that it takes to be a champion and have the behavior to create winning habits, okay? You reap what you sow. Work like a champion, and let's see where that gets us. Okay, we have respect for the success that's been achieved here in the past. Okay, but we also recognize a changing landscape that will demand and what that will demand for us to be competitive. And so I'm asking everyone that supports the program to have a lot of positive energy and help however they are capable. In terms of football, okay, we want to develop the right intangibles first. Okay, the right intangibles. Our dedication to teamwork and competitive spirit need to be in place and first, all right, first and foremost. Things like relentless effort, okay, discipline, toughness, and poise, okay. Also, even in the day and age of the transfer portal and roster turnover, it's our objective to create a team built on unity. All three phases of football are still built on fundamentals like alignment, blocking, tackling, amongst many others. Okay, those will be great points of emphasis. Offensively, we want to be aggressive and have an attack-oriented mindset. Okay, we want to be both efficient and explosive. Now, where there's explosive plays, usually explosive players are involved. Okay, so it's important for us to feature our best players on what they do well. We want to have a balanced offense regarding both run and pass and have the ability to attack every area of the field and use all of our eligibles. Okay, defensively, it still starts with the fundamentals of shedding blocks, okay, running to the ball, and tackling. Okay, we want to stop the run, affect the quarterback, okay, and have the ability to play tight coverage when we need to do so. All right, further, we want to have a flexible scheme that can deal with the varying styles of offense that we see weekly. Okay, special teams. Okay, special teams will be a big point of emphasis. Okay, field position is a critical component of winning football, and we intend to invest in this area in terms of talent and our time. Finally, I think, people are what make an organization, and so it's going to be important to us. We already have a lot of really good people here in our organization to assemble the best staff that can build relationships with these players, teach them, hold them to a high standard, and then also to recruit the right kind of people into our program as well. So we're really excited to take this on. Again, I'm really grateful for this opportunity. Very appreciative, again, of the administration. And I also want to say I am, and I thank them today, I'm appreciative and grateful to our players, the way they finished this season and the way they fought. I know that the opportunity I've got right here as an individual would not be capable without all their efforts. And I think in sports, a lot of times, individual awards are indicative of team success. And maybe this isn't an award, but it's created an opportunity for myself as an individual, but it's really indicative of the efforts of a lot of other people, okay, and that I was just fortunate to play a role in. So I'm also very grateful for that. At this time, I'll take any questions.
Hey, Alex, I just kind of wonder, during the season there's an unknown of your future here, but you sort of have the games to prepare and stuff. This week with signing day 2, kind of how did you handle that whole process of not knowing if you're going to continue to be here but still having to do your job?
I think, one is just, I think you have to, I felt like we had to prepare as if, just assume you're here, and then also we, we're pretty open. We talked about the possibility if someone else isn't here, still have a job to do. It's the right thing to do to try to, finish the class, recruit well, and if someone else is in here and they're coaching them, so be it. But we have an obligation, responsibility. But we tried to prepare as if we're going to be here and recruit in that manner as much as possible. And I think we were able to get a good start on this class.
On that, just what's the ideal goal of the class? In terms of numbers, how much do you want to build on that? And then what would be your message to incoming recruits?
Well, one, I think when you talk about the goal of the class, football has obviously changed as it pertains to roster management. And, I remember when I got into coaching, you'd have a board and it would say, hey, here's quarterback, tackle, guard, center, receiver, so on and so forth. You've had all the positions lined up. And then you knew how many were probably exiting your team at the end of the year due to graduation. And then you'd have a little number over there, 1 above quarterback, maybe 2 against running backs, 4 above, maybe the offensive line in totality. And now that number is very variable because you don't know how many of your guys are going to enter the portal and so on and so forth. So I think the number's flexible as it pertains to what this class will look like, even the high school class. But obviously we want to bring the right kind of people into the organization, both, with their intangible qualities and their character, and also the talent and ability to help us, and guys that we feel like we can develop into the future. I'm sorry, what was your second question?
Your message to incoming recruits of what this program will be.
Yeah, I think the one, what we talk about is some things I spoke on earlier is we want to help them develop in 3 big areas, and that it really is important to help them develop as a person. That they're going to be able to go have a successful life beyond athletics or when they get done at UAB. And then also as a student, it's something we talk to our players about today, and there are a lot of people that, are able to forge a successful life without a college degree. And, hey, my parents, my dad didn't go to a big 4-year institution, and he worked really hard and was able to create a positive life for himself and his family. But I think when you're in a position and given an opportunity to have an education, I think you need to respect the fact there are a lot of people that would like to trade places with you. And it's important to us to make sure our players understand that, and we need to take advantage of, the academic opportunity in front of them. And so that's the second thing is we're going to do everything we can to help support them academically, because a lot of them, hey, look, it's our goal. We know we're in the business of winning, and we need to try to win football games. And but it's still our goal to help them, beyond their time here. And then finally, hey, we're going to develop them as football players, and we've got a really good plan to do that. We're very specific as how we're going to do that. And it's going to be a 12-month plan every year, and that's going to, be detailed. And we feel like we've got a good track record of doing that in the past, and we feel like the university is committed. We've got people here that are really committed to helping them do that. We've got a phenomenal facility. We got a great stadium. So we're really excited about, what the ceiling could be here. And, so when you've got a great institution, a great academic opportunity like UAB, coupled with what we can do as a football program and the vision and commitment that lies in front of us, I think there's a lot to sell from that standpoint.
Alex, first of all, congratulations. Secondly, you kind of had bookend wins, obviously, in very difficult circumstances. The immediate circumstance of taking on a top 25 team, then of course everything that happened and then winning the last game. We forget coaches need confidence, right? How much confidence did those bookend wins give you, knowing I can do this job and I want this job?
Yeah, I think those wins helped a lot. I mean, I think our guys fought really hard, and you ask about confidence. I mean, maybe I'll be more transparent than I should be for a second. I mean, when everything happened the Memphis week, I mean, I'll admit I put on the best front I could. I'd getting in front of the cameras and coming doing a press conference, and was disappointed too, to be frank with you. Fought fear, anxiety, all those things. I'll be totally transparent with you on that. But the one thing I will tell you is when we got to game day and the centers and quarterbacks ran out for warm up, and I jogged out of the tunnel, and as soon as my feet hit the field, it was all gone. And it just reminded me how much fun this is to compete and play. And I think that moment alone really helped me a lot. And I think the second thing is, we've have some people, here that I'm close to that have, that remind you that you're not doing this yourself either. And there are a lot of people that are committed, that want to help and work to make this place better. And so you're not taking it on alone. So certainly those games help from a confidence standpoint, but a lot of it is having confidence in the people around you, and been doing this a long time too, and prepared for a long time. So feel very equipped to take on the task.
Coach, again, congratulations. As you took on the responsibility to be an interim coach, did it all enter your mind, or did you at all consider that this is effectively a tryout for the job?
Truly, it did not cross my mind. I think there was maybe a point early where maybe after the win you go, wow, we have a little momentum here. Maybe there is an opportunity if we have some amount of success. But really, it was like 90 to nothing, and we could barely see past our nose, and wearing multiple hats, in the middle of the season. It was just really trying to accomplish the next task one day at a time. And look, I'll go back to when first took on that responsibility. The number one objective was going, okay, these seniors have 6 weeks left, or 6 games left of football. And so really, like, my mindset, and I think the mindset of our staff was, whatever the future holds, let's make sure we give them the best 6 games possible, and let's serve them the best we can, and whatever the future holds, it holds. And that's really the approach we took.
During that whole process, during those 7 weeks, how much do you think it's helpful to do, not the football stuff, but the stuff you learned with a head coach, the media, just the different stuff you have to do that you never had to do? How much will that help you having sort of a trial run of that type of thing going into this?
Yeah, I think that experience is really helpful to have had to now go deal with some of those things and have some trial and error. And I think like anytime you take on a new job or new task, you're going to get a little better as you go. But I also think understanding the time management challenges and how to stay organized and manage your day is probably the biggest thing, that probably got me a jump start on.
And I know this might be a little bit too early to ask this, but just the way that you're going to structure your staff, I mean, do you still plan on running the offense? Sort of what are your thoughts on that, going into it, at least right now?
Right now, I mean, probably not. It's a little bit early, for us to talk about the staff stuff. Obviously, there'll be things, over the course of the coming days where, there'll be some conversations about staff and considerations will be made, and we're going to put as much thought into making sure we have the best people here as possible.
Did you require any assurances from Mark and the university that there would be a plan in place to get more financial backing? And what gave you the confidence to really take this head job?
Well, I think that really before any of those conversations started, they initiated their willingness to make a commitment to try to help. And they've already made a commitment, but to make a further commitment. And so, that was really encouraging. And I think, again, I think when you think about this place, I mean, there's certainly there are challenges. I spoke to that earlier, and we can't be naive as to, though maybe we've had some stretches of success in the past, We're in an entirely new landscape now, whether it's the transfer portal, NIL, so we have to adapt to be competitive, and I think there's an understanding of that. And I think beyond that, if we can adapt in those areas, I think we do have a lot of inherent advantages, whether that's you talk about recruiting. We have a great 5-hour radius in recruiting. I mean, you could even say we got a great 3-hour radius in recruiting. You think about the greater Birmingham area on out, a lot of good football here, the good coaching, great football culture, good players. So I think we can use that. We've got, mentioned earlier, we have a great facility. We have an awesome stadium. So I think there are a lot of inherent advantages to begin with, and we feel like we're going to work to adapt in the other areas. So those are things that gave us confidence to take this thing on.
You've kind of talked in the past a little bit about just sort of what your time at Alabama meant to you under Saban, but what is things like New Mexico Highlands and kind of the other stuff? I mean, sort of what are those things sort of meant to kind of develop you to who you are today as a coach?
Yeah, every experience along the way. I mean, I go back to being in middle school, and running a wishbone offense, and the things I learned running the wishbone, in 7th grade, and running the wing tee in 9th grade, and I had great coaches and mentors. I would feel, I almost wish I could name all of them. There's so many, and so every step along the way is really had an impression on me, and it's more about the people. But you talk about a place like New Mexico Highlands where I was fortunate to work for Eric Young and worked with a great friend there named Stephen Parker, who I learned a lot from. But one of the things I felt like I gained from that experience is no color printer. At that time, I'm sure they have one now, but no excuses. And we found that group banded together, and we found a way to win 8 games, and you just find a way to get things done and go to work and not have self-fulfilling prophecies where you say, well, we don't have this, therefore we can't. But no, let's find a way. Let's find a way. So, every one of those, steps along this journey have helped me. And I would say, too, to be more specific, the one thing about coaching, there at that time is a lot of our team was assembled quickly, and so obviously, being fortunate to be around Coach Saban and his program, I learned a lot, a tremendous amount. And, it's just hard to quantify how much I learned. But then in this current era where your team may be assembled quickly, you have a lot of roster turnover, there are some lessons I learned at a place, coaching, at a smaller school where a lot of our guys showed up after the 4th of July. So you had to have a great 8-week plan before you could go put the ball down, kick it off, and be ready to play. And so I worked with people that had experience at that and had, and I think we had a really good plan doing that. So I think those things practically really do help.
And just the other thing, when you're involved, when you're a candidate in a coaching search, a lot of people like to follow who they're supposedly talking to and that type of thing. As a candidate, do you pay attention to names thrown out there, or kind of how do you handle that, I guess?
I don't know if I should answer that question. I hear all the same rumors everyone else hears, but we're pretty knee-deep in work, too, trying to recruit. So distractions were kept to a minimum. We tell our players to stay off their phones, so sometimes I got to take some coaching too and stay off the phone as well.
Speaking of your players, what were their reactions when you were able to tell them of this news? And having built relationships with them, how how confident are you that you'll be able to retain a good portion of your roster? I know it's difficult in any aspect, but
yeah, we feel like we have really good relationships with our players here, and it's something we want to develop and grow more. I mean, becoming an interim coach in the middle of the year is unique, and that's another thing I share with the players today is that, if you have a runway of a whole offseason, as an offensive coach, I'd probably know the defensive players better. I'd know them individually. We would have met more. We would have spent more time together one-on-one. But I do feel like collectively we do have really good relationships, and it's hard to be predictive as to, how far that goes as they're weighing whatever their individual options are, and, as we get closer to the portal. But we are, we're hopeful that we can keep a lot of the guys here that we feel like we can build around. And that's going to be important to us. It's our first priority right now.
And then I know you'll have to think about building a staff over the next few weeks, but there's an obvious hole at offensive coordinator now. What do you want in an offensive coordinator now that you're looking for one now?
I mean, it's a bit early, but but I think, the one thing that I learned being around the best coordinators I've been around is I do think that individually they're very bright. They have good leadership qualities. They're able to generate ideas on their own, but most of them I've been around have a spirit of listening. There's a spirit of humility, and again, that word coordinate means coordinate the efforts of everyone in the building, not just coordinating the players. And so the best coordinators I've been around do a really good job of taking ideas, having a spirit of discernment, knowing what ideas to use, what ideas not to use. So I think those are some things that are really important for any coordinator.
You kind of asked this a little bit, but why, after being here 3 years, why did you want this job? I mean, what made this job attractive to you?
Well, I think, some of the things I'm probably going to be redundant, but, one, I do feel like I have some roots here growing up in Georgia and then, coaching in the state for over a decade now. My mom is from the state of Alabama, so just have a lot of roots here, to start with. And then I think secondly, having been here, really just feel like, we feel like we can build a successful program. And we feel like all the things, there are a lot of great things in place, like I mentioned. And again, I apologize for the redundancy, but location, recruiting radius, facility, stadium, all those things are excellent. People really are obviously the most important thing. And then finally, I think, as I mentioned, I think a willingness to adapt to the new competitive landscape and what that looks like. So those are all reasons that I was excited to try to take this thing on.
Here's another media fan question, right? So will you call your own plays? Have you even talked about that? Will you seek advice on that as you get closer? Obviously, you don't have to worry about it for another year. But
I think that's something that I'm not prepared to answer just yet. And I think that there've been, without stating a lot of specific examples, there are examples of that going really well, and there's examples of that not going well. And you could. So I something I'm going to talk to people about, and I already have to a degree, but we'll continue to come up with whatever we feel like is the best strategy there.
Time for a couple more questions. I'd just like to welcome you to the UAB family, and I just want to make a statement. The UAB Athletic Foundation is 100% behind Ray, Mark, and Alex. We're excited about this hire. We're determined to do the things necessary to raise the funding level to allow him to have the maximum amount of success. And I'm asking for the entire community to mobilize and get behind this guy and get behind this university, because we have a real chance to do something special.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Any further questions? Good. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
At this time, Coach Mortensen will be taking sidebar questions for about 10 minutes. So thank you.